everybody, and welcome to another ASMR video here on the channel. In tonight's video, we're back with even more scary stories. I thought with the increase in videos throughout December, it felt only right that we increase the amount of scary videos. So we've got one coming tonight, and I think there's another one later this week as well, just before Christmas, I think. You'll have to forgive me if I look tired. I've turned the camera on and realised how tired I look. I'm recording this video in the morning. I literally woke up about half an hour ago. I'm trying to get all my content for the rest of the year done before my Christmas holiday, so going to be filming a couple of videos this morning. Had a very long day yesterday, travelling to and from Wolverhampton to watch my team win in the last minute, but you don't care about that. But maybe my slightly tired look will help you to feel tired as well. But anyways, in tonight's video we are revisiting the Let's Not Meet Reddit thread. A thread with apparently real and terrifying encounters and stories, so hopefully you find it scary, hopefully you find it relaxing. I've got a nice cup of black coffee while we whisper through these, and I hope you enjoy. Right, so our first story, which sounds straight up lovely, is called The Man in the Crawl Space. Just what you want. This happened to me about 5 years ago, and even now I get chills thinking about it. I was renting a small house in a quiet neighbourhood at the time. It wasn't anything fancy, but it was cosy, affordable, and had a lot of character. The only thing I didn't love was the crawl space under the house. The access door to it was in the laundry room, a square wooden hatch flush with the floor. It was locked from the outside, and I never had any reason to open it. I figured it was just pipes, cobwebs, and the usual creepy crawl space stuff. One evening I came home late from work. It had been a stressful day, and all I wanted was to shower and collapse into bed. As I stepped inside, I noticed something strange. My laundry room light was on. I was sure I had turned it off that morning, but I chalked it up to being absent-minded in my rush, and I turned it off again. That night, I woke up around 2 a.m. to a faint noise. At first, I thought it was the wind, but as I lay there, I realised it was coming from the laundry room. A soft, rhythmic, thumping sound. My heart started to race. I debated whether to get up and check or just stay in bed and hope that it stopped. Curiosity got the better of me, so I grabbed my phone for light and tiptoed to the laundry room. When I opened the door, everything was quiet. But then I saw it. The hatch to the crawl space was slightly ajar. My stomach dropped. I distinctly remembered it being locked, and there was no way I could have accidentally opened it. Trying to stay calm, I convinced myself it might be an animal that had somehow gotten in. I shut the hatch tightly and placed a heavy box of detergent on top of it before going back to bed. The next day, I called the landlord to ask if there were still any pest issues that I should know about. He seemed surprised and said no one had reported anything like that before. Still, he promised to send someone over to check it out. That night I double-checked the hatch and even put a chair on top of it for good measure. the sound of my bedroom door creaking open. I froze. My bedroom door doesn't creak unless you push it slowly, and I knew I had closed it before bed. I stayed as still as I could, barely breathing, as I heard soft footsteps shuffle into the room. Why am I this scared on a Sunday morning? Why? My phone was on the nightstand, just out of reach. The footsteps stopped right next to my bed. I could feel someone's presence, their quiet breathing in the dark. Summoning every ounce of courage I had, I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight, and swung it toward the intruder. There was a man crouched on the floor, his face pale and gaunt, his eyes wide and unblinking. He looked just as startled as I was. I screamed and bolted out of the room, running outside to the neighbour's house. I banged on their door until they let me in, and they called the police. When the officers arrived, they found the man still in my house, hiding in the crawl space. He had a small mattress, some food wrappers, and a collection of random items he must have taken from my house. The lock on the hatch had been tampered with, and from the looks of it, he had been living under my house for at least a few days, maybe longer. The scariest part, lovely it gets worse. The police said they found a notebook with detailed notes about me. He had written down my daily routine, when I left for work, when I came home, even what I wore. There was also a list of plans, though they wouldn't tell me what was on it. I moved out the next week and stayed with friends until I found a new place. To this day I have no idea how he got in or how long he had been watching me before I noticed something was wrong. To the man in the crawl space, let's not meet. Ever. That is horrendous. That is categorically horrendous. Oh gosh. Although, I kind of want to know what was on the list of plans. Like, was it go out for ice cream? Was it go watch a movie? Or was it, murder you in your sleep? Could be any one of those things, really. Next up, we have another delightful account title. This story is called Man with Jaw Hung Open in My Backyard. Surprisingly, this is one of those stories I forgot about until a few years ago when I was talking to a school friend on a call and I got reminded of it. She was pretty freaked when I told her and I got recommended to put it on here, so here I am. This happened when I was roughly maybe 7 or 8, so some of the details are fuzzy, but I remember it pretty vividly. This may seem like unimportant context, but my family had just moved to America and were renting the top portion of your regular suburban house in a pretty safe cul-de-sac. I had friends. They were triplets, about 3 or 4 houses down, but not far at all. Every day I'd go hang out with them, and around 9 or 10 in the night, my older brother would make the 2-minute walk and come get me and walk me home since I was pretty young. One night he came to get me as usual. The sun wasn't fully down, but it was getting pretty dark. We started down the walk as normal when he started casting glances over his shoulder. I didn't really notice until he shoved me hard away from the sidewalk and between 2 houses. Each house had a huge fence that separated their backyard, and he made me crouch behind the fence. I remember being really scared but more so confused, since I had no damn idea what the hell was going on. More specifically, he was a pretty big prankster. Once he convinced me my older sister crashed crashed a car into the ocean. So I didn't really believe him when he turned and said, "Walk behind the houses. I think someone's following us." Looking back now, he was probably trying to keep me calm. However, whatever calm was left in my tiny 8-year-old body was gone at the moment I turned and looked around. The man had followed us behind the houses, and he was just by the edge of a few houses down near a different fence line. He had a black hoodie on, black sweatpants and white sneakers. I have pretty bad eyesight now due to some health problems, but back then it was crystal clear, and I could see with horrifying clarity that his jaw was hung open. Like he was just standing there, absolutely still, with his jaw hung open. It was horrifying. I think now that I'm older, maybe he had some kind of medical condition, or maybe he did crack. But back then I could have sworn on God I was seeing some kind of demon. Anyway, my brother, when he saw me looking and getting ready to freak out, told me to just run as fast as I can to our house. We booked it. Neither of us looked back, but we were scared out of our minds. Like I said, we only rented the top portion of the house, so the bottom of the sliding door in the backyard belonged to another tenant. I don't remember if she was home or not, but I remember tugging that thing open and locking it as fast as I can. Oh gosh. And when I looked up, he was there in the yard, a little away from the door, staring at us. Oh. Me and my brother told my sister and my mother immediately, but nothing came of it. Not until the day after. We went to go meet my dad at his warehouse, which had a small living portion above it where we lazed around until he was ready to head home with us. Around dusk, he came up and told us we might have to wait since the police were here. He walked us around to the back window of the small area to show us police all around the backyard area of the warehouses, to a white van parked on the grass by the edge of the woods. Like I said, I was pretty young, so I don't remember many details of what actually happened, but I do remember my dad telling us they found a man and a woman in the van. The man, he said, had his mouth hung wide open. He seemed really disturbed, telling me about the whole thing and wouldn't answer any more questions about the woman. Maybe she was dead, I've got zero idea. I do know they were arrested on trespassing charges. I don't know anything else and I haven't asked about it, and I doubt he'd remember. But it still freaks me out to this day. I still can't believe it happened and I don't have any answers for it. I talked to my brother briefly about it in hopes he remembered more than I do, but all I got was a long story about whatever medical condition the guy probably had for his mouth to be like that. Sometimes I think maybe he didn't mean any harm and was just drugged out of his mind. But this was like in the world's safest neighbourhood, and doesn't explain why or how he showed up at my dad's workplace. That is grim. Yeah, I mean, kind of best case scenario, he's just got a medical condition and he's drugged up and wasn't really aware what he's doing, but the fact he had parked his white van on the edge of the woods and was wearing dark clothing following you behind houses, I would suggest he probably had some less savoury intentions. That's my personal view, but that is horrific. Next up, in senior year I got really bizarre notes from a secret admirer. When I was a freshman in high school, Alyssa was my role model. Alyssa was a senior. She was so gorgeous, confident, smart, effortlessly stylish, and always owning the room room. Back then I was too shy to talk to her. Seniors are already pretty intimidating to freshmen, but Alyssa was next level intimidating because she was such a queen. I didn't expect anyone to see me the way I saw Alyssa, but I was pleasantly surprised in my senior year. In this year, I started finding cute little notes in my locker. I wasn't expecting them at all, but I was really flattered. The first one said, "You were beautiful in that dress on Friday," with a love heart. The handwriting was neat and simple. More notes kept coming, always in 4th period. I got a note every week or two. I know they came during 4th period because I checked my locker before and after every class. They were really sweet. They said things like, "Your smile lights up the hallway. You shine brighter than any star. Your homecoming photos are straight out of a magazine cover. So stunning." There were more notes that I don't remember. They weren't romantic or flirty. They looked like things I might have said to Alyssa if we'd ever spoken. I thought maybe they were from a shy underclassman girl. I had my suspicions. I didn't tell anyone about the notes. I really didn't want my friends turning this into an investigation and embarrassing whoever was leaving them. Whoever was leaving these messages, I thought they meant well. Then in 2nd semester, my schedule changed. My last class of the day was upstairs near my friend's locker. My friend's last class was near my locker, so we swapped lockers. I forgot all about the notes until my 18th birthday. That morning my friend handed me a note she found in her locker. It said, "Happy birthday, princess." At first she thought the notes were meant for her since any of those compliments could fit her too. But when she realised the birthday didn't match up, she put 2 and 2 together. Come to think of it, I don't think any of the notes ever said my name. I admitted the notes had been happening all year and explained that I didn't want to make a big deal about it. Then my friends launched their investigation that I had been worried about. All the girls in our friend group became detectives trying to solve this mystery. One friend who didn't have a 4th period class stationed herself by the lockers to surveil the area. That worked. I've just read the next line. The notes from a shy freshman or even... I know the notes weren't from a shy freshman or even from a boy. They were from a janitor. Oh, an older woman none of us knew. Okay, the fact is what makes it a bit better but still creepy. We all recognised her, but I don't think any of us had ever talked to her. She'd been leaving these notes for several months, watching me closely enough to comment on my outfits, field hockey games, and even what I posted on Facebook. Yeah, you know what? That's still weird. It's not less creepy. I saw her at the last field hockey game of the season. She sat quietly in the stands. That was the only time I noticed her watching me, but I have no idea how many places I didn't notice her watching me. None of us brought this up to her. She hadn't done anything wrong, but it felt unsettling in a way that's hard to explain. I don't know why they wouldn't have reported that. That is really, really unbelievably strange behaviour. Like, I was kind of hoping it was just going to be like a creepy, lonely boy in a few years below, but no, it is an elderly janitor. Wonderful. Okay. Our next story is titled Creepy FedEx Driver. This is a long story, so stick with me. I, 23 female, am a bartender. I have some crazy stories where I've been genuinely scared for my life, but this has got to be the worst. I'm working a double at the restaurant. Around 11 AM, a delivery man comes in with a package that I had to sign for. He comes in, I sign for the package and tell him to have a good day with a smile. I continue my shift per usual. This was a Friday or Saturday, I can't remember specifically, but later on we got busy. The restaurant and parking lot was full. I see a lot of different people daily, plus seeing someone for the second time out of their uniform you may not recognise them. FedEx driver comes and sits at the bar. I don't obviously remember him from the 25-second interaction we had that morning. I started talking to him as I do all my customers. I get him a drink, appetizer, another drink, entree, etc. Our conversation started. Him: how long have you worked here? Me: a few years, I've worked my way up. Him: how do you like it here? Just regular conversation with a bar guest. It slowly became not so regular. He asked me if I had a boyfriend. I said yes. He would change the subject and then go back, complimenting me, saying how beautiful I was every few minutes. Can I have your number? No, I don't think my boyfriend would appreciate that. Okay, what's your last name? We could just be Facebook friends. All annoying but normal interactions I have had with men in this industry. He started to become really pushy over time, pressing for my phone number or social media. I continue to politely decline and laugh it off. He then tells me I actually came this morning to drop off a package with FedEx. You signed for it. I came back just for you. I smile and continue with my stupid customer service. Oh yeah, I remember you. Smile and laugh it off. I even stepped in the back to vent to my manager at this point about how he was being extra pushy and uncomfortable. Flash forward about an hour, he pays his tab and leaves. I'm just glad he's gone at this point. We'll say as a guess it's about 7 PM when he leaves. We are still busy and we close at 10. We finish dinner service. Customers slowly start to leave and the restaurant is finally empty. I've been cleaning for a while and I'm finally finishing up. It's about 10:30 at this point. I'm cleaning the bar. I look up. The whole front of the restaurant that I'm facing consists of large windows that face the parking lot, and I see one car in the parking lot. I notice that the delivery driver is standing outside of the car, walking around it and seeming like he's cleaning the back seat out. Doors open and he is leaning in and out with a bag. As soon as I realised it was him, who had left almost 4 hours ago, my heart sank. Why was he still here? Why was he cleaning the back seat out? I freak. My manager and I are the only people left in the restaurant at this point. It's almost 11. I run to her and tell her everything about how he came back just for me, and about how he had seemingly left 4 hours ago, and I made her come from the back of the restaurant behind the bar up front so she could see him in the parking lot, waiting for me. She says she's going to call the police. At this point my boyfriend and I had an apartment literally 5 minutes away from the restaurant. I told her not to worry about it, I'll just call my boyfriend to come and get me. I did just that, but my boyfriend could immediately tell something was wrong. And when I'm anxious or scared I ramble, so I gave him a quick debriefing of what was going on. He said he would be there soon and I hung up. My manager made me sit in the office until he got there, so I didn't see this go down. All I remember is my boyfriend coming into the restaurant to get me, walking me to the car through the back door, and me getting home. My boyfriend, who is very confrontational and protective, later tells me that he pulled into the parking lot to see the FedEx driver sitting in the driver's seat of his car. My boyfriend walked up to his car and knocked on the window for him to roll it down. He does, and my boyfriend tells him something along the lines of, "You need to get out of here." And this is where the creepiest thing happens. The dude responded to him in a different language, mumbling and acting like he didn't speak English. My boyfriend said something like, "I know you speak English, you've been talking to my girlfriend all night and you need to get out of here." Dude continued to ramble in a different language until my boyfriend raised his voice and basically said, "You have 15 seconds before I pull you out of this car and you never leave this parking lot." Fair. For the guy to finally put the car in drive and speed off. I was on edge for weeks after this interaction and even considered switching jobs. Why was he still in the parking lot that long after close, and hours after crashing out his tab? And why was he cleaning his back seat? To the creepy delivery driver, let's never meet again. Negative riz, if you ask me. No, some people are just... I just can't understand. Some people are just wired horrifically wrong. So weird. I don't know why he would have been cleaning his back seat. Like, was he going to offer to taxi her home? I don't really understand what he would have been doing there. I'm going to finish tonight's video with this one called "He Lived in My House." For a bit of context, this happened about 2 years ago, a few weeks after my little brother was born. Ever since we moved into this house, there's been this small room in the basement that's always been locked. To show you how little anyone uses it, I don't even know what's in there, but I've always assumed it's just utility stuff like meters or something. The room is really tiny, barely big enough to lie down in. Now let's get into it. My parents went away for a weekend together, leaving me, my older sister and my baby brother at home. My parents trusted us to take care of ourselves since they'd done this before. Anyway, that night my sister went out with friends and wasn't planning to come back until 4 or 5 in the morning. I watched a movie, and since it was already getting late, decided to put my little brother to bed in his room upstairs. I did that and came back down to watch another movie, but ended up falling asleep. About 2 or 3 hours later, around midnight, I woke up to strange noises coming from upstairs. At first I thought it was just the neighbours, since they can be pretty loud and the walls are thin. But then I looked at the time and realised it was too late for them to still be awake, let alone be making that kind of noise. So I got closer to the stairs to investigate, and just as I was about to go up the first step, I heard the sound of something metal falling on the ground. Guess what? It was the key to the small room in the basement. I immediately grabbed my phone, and instead of calling the police, I texted my friends to tell them what was happening. One of my friends had the brilliant idea of calling the police for me. Suddenly, I heard the bathroom door slam shut. I knew it was that door because it made a very specific creaking noise when it closes. I remembered my brother was sleeping upstairs, so I carefully went up to check if he was okay. Thankfully, he was fine. Still not fully grasping how much danger I was in, I went to the bathroom door. Since it opens inward, I decided to violently push it open, and I heard a man scream. I immediately shut the door and held it closed to keep him from getting out. He broke the window, and outside the bathroom there's this sort of balcony that connects to the balconies of the neighbouring houses, which are all really close. He used that to escape. I grabbed my brother in my arms, ran to the kitchen and noticed that one of the knives was missing from the knife block. I picked up another knife and crouched in a corner of the living room crying like never before. The police arrived and I opened the door for them. When they searched the house, they confirmed that the bathroom window was broken, and I had hit the guy so hard that there was blood on the floor. But the most shocking and traumatizing part was what they found in that small basement room. There were blankets and cans of food. He had been living there for several days. I hesitated a lot before posting this story because it really affected me, and I'm sorry if the story isn't super clear. Some of the details are still jumbled in my head. Anyway, I hope you found it interesting. Well, thank you for sharing. I mean, you're probably not watching this, but it is stories like that that just make me so grateful that I've never had anything remotely like that happen to me, because that is absolutely terrifying. But anyways, everybody, that is gonna do it for tonight's video. I really hope you did enjoy it. If you did and you're able to, then please do give it a like and subscribe if you're new.